guys, welcome back. I'm Taneya and this is Uyan Beauty. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing a 2 looks, 2 palettes. I've done a few videos where I did 2 looks using 1 palette, but today what I decided to do, or rather what I decided to do in this video, because it actually took a couple of days to do, I'm going to do 1 look using the Makeup Revolution Sally palette and 1 look using the Makeup Revolution Jack palette. These 2 palettes are from the new Makeup Revolution collaboration with A Nightmare Before Christmas. You have the 2 eyeshadow palettes. You also have 2 highlighters. Each one is themed to match a particular eyeshadow palette. There was also some liquid lipsticks and there were some glosses in there too. I don't use gloss, first of all, and I didn't feel like the liquid lipsticks were fitting or actually matched the theme of the collection, so I didn't get those. The only thing that I got was the eyeshadow palettes and the highlighters right here. I really love the packaging on everything. It is just so beautiful. It's one of my reasons why I got these, but color store wise, I just don't know. There are 36 shades, first of all, in each palette. Why we needed 36 shades in each palette is, I don't know. I feel like that's just way too many shades. And just looking at this color story, I feel like this one is the Sally palette. I feel like this one just does not match Sally. I feel like we're missing some vibrant purples, in matte form. Like, it's just not quite hitting the mark. Same thing with Jack's palette. I feel like we're missing that really bright green, that deep rich black, that bone white. Like right off the bat, the shades that I would immediately think of with Jack just seem to be completely missing from this 36 huge collection of shades here. The 2 highlighters are Misfit Love and Moonlight Mischief and Madness. Moonlight Mischief and Madness is the lighter of the 2. We'll bring you in a little closer. You can see there's like a little picture of Jack's face there, which I think is really cool. This one is lighter. It's a little more cool tone. Misfit Love is a little bit warmer. It's a little deeper. My highlighter, the Misfit Love one, came broken. You see that right there? I had to press everything back in. I contacted Ulta. They gave me a refund. The highlighter itself is sold out, so they couldn't send me a new one. But like I said, they refunded my money. I'm happy about that. And I was able to kind of press it back in. It is still usable. And I mainly got it for the outer packaging anyway, so I'm not too unhappy about it. But I have a feeling that this is going to be a long one. Hopefully not, but it possibly could be. So let's go on ahead and get started with look number 1. For this first look, we're going to be using this Sally palette. This one is called Misfit Love, and once again, that's the color story. For this look, since I am going for a Sally-inspired look, I went on ahead and I contoured, which is something I don't normally do. For contour, I use the Frightful shade in the palette, which is this one right here. It's kind of a cool toned brown. I thought that would work as a contour. I think it looks pretty good considering this is something that I don't normally do. For this look, I think I want to focus on the purples and just make a really nice purpley look. So I'll probably use Misfit Love here, maybe Love Eternal, bring in some of the purples here as far as a shimmery look, but I'm going to go ahead and prime my eyelids. Oh, before I do that, the blush that I'm using is from e.l.f. This is the Primer Infused blush. This is the matte blush. And this one is called Always Rosey. This one is just a really nice matte mauvey rosy shade. And one of the reasons why I picked this one is because I wanted a really good matte blush. There's no shimmer or highlight in here. This is just a pure matte formula. But let's go on ahead and put together our look. Let me go ahead and prime my eyelids first. I'm just going to use my e.l.f. Camo Concealer. This is the regular one, the matte one, not the hydrating. This is what I use under my eyes. I don't feel like going over and grabbing my eyeshadow primer. This is what was here on my filming table, so this is what I'm going to use. Real quick, one of the things that I did with this look, and I'll probably do the same thing when I do the Jack inspired palette, is I use a black pencil instead of a dark brown pencil because I wanted to give myself darker, more defined brows, like are more fitting to Sally. So that's what I did here. The first thing we're going to do is take Misfit Love here, and I'm just going to lay that down all over my eyelids. It's kind of the transition shade. I really wish there was a darker, deeper purple in this palette than what we're seeing, but as I said in the introduction, I kind of felt like they missed the mark a little bit with the color stories, or they weren't quite matching the characters. But we're just going to do a really, really quick look, mostly using the purples. I might bring in a little bit of orange or green, but the main focus that I want on this eye look is purple. I have to say right off the bat, these shadows are blending very nicely. Like I'm laying them down and then I'm blending it out, and I'm not really having an issue with the blending. So that's really nice. Blending that outwards, past my brow, into the temples. Next, we're going to go into Love Eternal, which is a brighter, more lavendery shade of purple, and we're going to lay that down in our crease area. So far, there is a lot of pigment on the brush. Let's see if we get any kind of depth on the eyelid. All right, that's pretty. I can definitely see a difference between this shade and the shade that I first laid down. And once again, it's blending very nicely. Do the same over here. We're just going to lay that directly into the crease and towards the outer part of the eye, just kind of blending everything in. But we want that focus to be on this outer part right here. And everything's blending over this e.l.f. concealer pretty well, so I have no complaints there either. I really wish there was a deeper matte shade of purple in here, like this one right here, which is called Deadly Nightshade. That would be perfect if it were a matte, but it's like that shimmery metallic shade. Same thing here with like Scream Queen or Thistle. I really wish those were mattes and not shimmery shades. That's probably one of my biggest complaints about both of these palettes is the matte to shimmer ratio is just really crappy. There's hardly any mattes at all and a whole bunch of shimmers. And then the mattes are just like, they're not really good ones that you would want to work with as kind of base colors, in my opinion anyway. But let's see what else we can do to try to put some more depth in here. I'm probably going to end up putting a shimmer in my crease, which is something that I don't normally do, but I'm kind of limited here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take Deadly Nightshade and just kind of lay that on this outer part of my eye, and then we'll do something else further in. We'll just see how it goes. I took the shadow on the same brush that I used that Love is Eternal pink shade, and we're just going to attempt to lay this on the outer part of the eye. Oh, look at all that fallout. You see all that? Ooh, I don't like that. All right, let me see if we can kind of dust that away. Oh, well, at least it dusted away pretty good. We're going to try that again. Let me try to shake off my brush a little bit more. All right, let's see what happens now. Am I getting any kind of depth? Am I seeing any kind of a difference? I'm not. What I'm going to do is wet my brush, and then we'll try this again. I'm going to take a kind of a stiffer brush. I'm going to wet it with my setting spray here. I just use the Believe Beauty. Doesn't really matter which one. That just happens to be the one on my filming desk. And I'm going to try this again. And maybe then we can get a little bit of something. The lack of mattes in here that are deeper in shade, I mean, that's my main issue. Okay, that's much, much better. All right. Like I said, I don't normally put a shimmer in my crease, but we're going to go with it. I'm going to go ahead and try to make that into an outer V shape. I actually kind of like it. I'm not unhappy with it, but as I said, I really wish there was a deeper matte purple shade in here. I'm going to go ahead and mix that in with this one right here, which is just a little bit deeper, just to see if we can get a little bit of a deeper shiny purple. Heck, if we're going to go shiny, we might as well just go all the way. It's not really what I was going for, but once again, lack of mattes. I want to put a little something deeper on that outer V. Let me see what this darkness shade is like. What do we think of that one? Let's see what Jack is like. Jack is like very, very shiny. I think I'm going to take a little bit of Jack. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to take a little bit of the darkness shade, and we'll lay that right here on the outer V and see what happens. Got a little bit on a flat brush. I just want to lay that right here on the outer part of the eye just to kind of deepen things up just a little bit and add a little bit more depth to my eye. It's a very, very shiny formula, but it's not too bad. I'm not hating it, but if it were a matte, that would be even better. I'm just blending that out right into this outer part of the eye, focusing that right here on the outer corner. Okay, I do like that. I do like how I'm getting a little bit more depth into this eye look. I'm going to take part of that and just sweep it into the crease, the very flat end of the brush. Okay, I'm liking that. It's blending into the purple really nicely too. All right, so far I'm liking where this is going. Now I want to lay a shimmer right up in there. I'm not going to use a glitter base. I don't think I really need to with this particular formula. The one that I think I'm going to lay down is Feelings, but I think I want to take Vampire Teddy, which is kind of this orangey shade, and lay that down under my lower lash line first, and then we'll lay down the shimmer. Taking that on a smaller flat brush, and we're just focusing it right onto that lash line, mainly on the outer part of the eye. Very Halloween, very fall. Now I'm going to take the Feeling shade on this little flat brush, and I'm going to spray the brush just to help add a little bit of extra shine. What I did with those purple shades is I sprayed my brush first and then went into the shadow, and as you can see, kind of messed them up a little bit. I should have known better. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't normally do that, but we're going to put it on the brush first and then spray the brush, not the actual, we'll spray the shadow on the brush, not the brush by itself. And we're going to take that and we're going to lay that here, all over the eyelid. It's there. I'm not really seeing any shine though. There is like, it's more of a satin matte than it is an actual shimmer or metallic. I mean, it's a pretty shade, but I'm not getting that shine that I was hoping that I would get. I'm going to take just a little bit more of that darkness shade and just kind of blend out in here. Man, I wish this was a matte. For my inner corner highlight, I'm going to take Moonlight. On camera, it looks like it's more white, but in person, it's a very light, pale, pinky kind of a shimmery shade. So I'm going to take the shadow on my brush, and then I'm going to wet it just a little. And we're going to lay that down right in here in that inner corner area. And I'm going to blend that into the mattes as well. Once again, it's there, but I'm not getting a whole lot of shine. I mean, it's a pretty shade. It's nice, but I'm not getting the wow and the pow and the bang that I was hoping to get with it. To finish off this eye look, I'm going to take Spiral Heel. I'm going to lay that in this inner area part right there, and that will be the shadows complete. Eyeshadow is done. I just realized that I never actually put on the highlighter. This is also Misfit Love, so this is also part of the Sally collection. I really hate that my highlighter shattered, but at least I was able to put it all back into the pan and kind of press it down, so that's good. And like I said, Ulta gave me a refund, so that's good too. But we're just going to quickly highlight. This one has more of a richer golden shade, which I actually kind of like. But when you think about it, as far as Sally, Jack, both of them are concerned, they're more icy. So I would have thought that they would have had like two really nice icy type highlighters. And really, you could have just done one that was more icy instead of doing the two. But this is a pretty gold highlighter, so I'm not complaining, and it went on very nicely. I like the way that it looks overall, so I'm happy. I'm going to go off camera and throw on my eyeliner, my lashes, and my lips, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at the final look. Lashes and liner are done. I went on ahead and added this Ghost shade right here, which is kind of this silvery, shimmery shade. I put that in my inner corner just to add a little more brightness, and I do like the way it looks better than the way that it looked before. My liner is my Artista liner. This is from Shop Miss A, AOA. My lashes are from Tony. These are the extra large wispy dramatic lashes. When I think of Sally, I think big, fluffy, doll-like lashes, and that's exactly what these are. Very big, very full, very fluffy. They scream Sally to me. I wanted to go with something really bright and orange for my lips because that's also what I think of when I think of Sally. So for my lip liner, this is Ruby Kisses. This is in Crimson. This is a pure, straight orange lip liner. I absolutely love it. And my lip shade is from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. This is the Velour Liquid Lipstick in Checkmate. I've been trying to find some dupe shades and other brands that could dupe my favorite shades from Jeffree Star Cosmetics, but I have not found anything that's like orange like this. I mean, as you can see, this is the perfect, deep, rich orange shade. If you guys know of another brand that has an orange shade like this that's dupeable, let me know, because I would like to find some shades that do dupe these that I can use on camera, but for now, this is all that I have. And that's the final look, guys. I think that it actually came out pretty good. Once again, I do wish that there was a deeper, richer purple in that shade that was in a matte formula, but overall, I'm kind of happy with the way everything came together. Let's go ahead and move on to look number 2. Alright, let's move on to look number 2. I went on ahead and I contoured again like I did in the first look. This time I used the Jack palette, since that is the palette that we're going to be using for our eye look today. I used the shade Beryl, which is kind of the cool tone brown in this one. This shade is very similar to the shade in the Sally palette. That's the one that I used to contour. Today I did it a little more light-handed and not so severe, so I think it looks a little bit better than I did yesterday. The blush I'm using is the same one that I used in the first look, which is the Always Rosy shade from e.l.f. That beautiful cool tone rosy that's got just a little bit of cool tone brown under it. And the highlighter I'm going to use, I haven't done the highlighter yet, is this one. This is the Moonlight, Mischief, and Madness highlighter. This one is a little more cool toned and a little more lighter in shade than the first one, the Misfit Love. I think that's what that one was called that I used in the first look. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this on real quick. Got just a little bit on my brush. I'm going to just apply it the high points. Oh yeah, this shade is definitely lighter and more icy than that first shade. I like that. I actually think I like this shade better than the first one. For a Nightmare Before Christmas, themed collection, I think this one is just more fitting than that gold tone shade from the first look. But I'm really liking the iciness of this one. I'm going to prime my eyelids with my e.l.f. Camo concealer. This is the matte formula, not the hydrating. This is what I used in the first video, and I felt like, or the first look, and I felt like the shadows blended really nicely over it, so I thought I would go ahead and use it for this look too. For this look, I definitely want to focus on some black, maybe bring in a little bit of green. As I said in the introduction, I really wish there was a bone white matte shade in here, because all you have is kind of this eggshelly taupe shade. Jack is not eggshell, he is not taupe, he is bone white, so that's definitely missing here. But since that's the lightest shade in the palette, we'll go ahead and lay that one down and then we'll go from there. Alright, right off the bat, the one thing I am noticing is that this is not a matte shade. In the palette, it looked like it was kind of an eggshell matte. This one is not matte. This is kind of a high, lighty, shimmery shade. Wow. I mean, I'm not unhappy about it. It's just not what I was going for. I went ahead and I grabbed another palette. This is my James Charles Morphe palette. I'm going to use the shade Flashback here. This is a pure white bone matte shade. What I was hoping would be in this palette, but it's not. I'm going to use this to lay down over my eyelid. This is just not what I'm going for, this little shimmery white shade. I wanted to only use just the one palette, but, it makes me sad when the palette doesn't have what you're actually wanting. Okay, that is what I wanted, that straight bone white shade. The goal is to just leave this kind of on the top and then put the green here, but since, I had to kind of get into the palette because that first palette didn't have the shade that I was wanting. It kind of went down further than I was originally planning on, but hopefully we can still make this work. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my e.l.f. concealer on a little flat brush here, and I'm going to do kind of a cut crease, but not really. I just want to kind of blank out the area where I want that green shade to go. I'm just going to go ahead and spread that out. I think it'd be easier if I do it with my finger as opposed to the brush. Now I'm going to go into Oogie Boogie, and I'm going to lay that down on my eyelid where I laid down that concealer. Are you guys saying anything? I'm not, I'm literally not seeing anything. Wow. It's on the brush. Let's try this again. Let's try building it up. This is more like a khaki green. And here it looks brighter, but it's going on my eye like a straight khaki green. This is so weird. I am so not happy with this color story. This is just not what I think of when I think of Jack. This is highly disappointing. Like, I had a look in my head as far as what I was going for, and I'm having a very difficult time achieving that. I'm not happy with this at all, you guys. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and take Everybody Scream. This one has a little more shimmer in it, but it's brighter green as far as what I'm wanting. So let's see if we can make this work. Are we getting anything? I'm seeing a little bit more, but I'm gonna try to do that with my finger. So that's what it looks like. I mean, it's nice and bright. Let's try putting that on with my finger. Okay, that's a lot better. Was wanting a bright matte green, but this is definitely better than what I was getting with that first green shade. I'm going to take a little bit more of that Everybody Scream shade on a brush, and I'm going to wet it just a little bit. See if I can get a little bit more of a more build up, more pigment, more shine. Now, this is the thing. The shadow formula itself, it's really nice. It's very soft. It's very creamy. The issue is the shades. The shades that I need to be in this palette are just not in it. That's the issue. Now I'm going to take Hinterlands, which is the only blackest shade in the palette. I'm going to lay that on the outer corner, just kind of smoke things out and kind of blend that in towards the lash line. It's looking like it's more of a dark brown, so I'm hoping that it pulls more black. A lot of fallout there. Whew, shake off that brush. Let's see what happens. It's black, but it's not like super black like I was kind of hoping for. It's more of a dark hunter green with a little bit of brown mixed into it, but it's definitely not a pure black shade. Once again, it's a little disappointing. Right now, I'm focusing on just kind of building it up, and then we're going to focus on the blend. Now I'm going to take this fluffy e.l.f. blending brush and then just lightly and gently blend out the edges. It's not the best black I've used. It's not the worst black. It definitely could be a lot more pigmented. As I'm blending it out, as you can see, it's kind of blending away. I'm barely tapping. Like, I'm not sitting there going like this. I'm barely blending. And as you can see, it is just dusting away. Something tells me we're going to be doing another gigantic wing to try to fix that. So I went in with a wipe and I took out some of that shadow that was right there to kind of make it a little bit sharper. I fixed up the concealer and the powder on the outside. I used this flat brush from Morphe to kind of give myself a little bit more sharpness there. Now I'm just going to take my fluffy crease brush from e.l.f. blending brush, and just see if I can slightly blend those edges out. I'm going to take Graveyard right here. Graveyard is kind of a steel gray shade. It's shimmery, which I'm not happy about, but I'm not really seeing anything else that I can use as a transition shade in this palette. And I just want something to blend over this top part a little bit. So I was really wanting was more of a flat matte look, but that's not what we got. I'm going to take Pumpkin King under the lower lash line, which is the only bright orangey shade in the palette, and I'm just going to blend that in right into the lower lash line under the eyes. I'm going to recreate this on this eye, and then we'll come back and we'll do our liner. To finish off the shadow, I'm going to go ahead and take Sally, which is kind of an icy blue shade. I'm going to put that in the inner part of my eye, and then I drag that down the lower lash line as well, just to add a little bit of icy brightness to the middle or inner portion of my eye. Lord, I can't even talk right now. I'm going to line my eyes using this Milani Eye Tech Bold liquid liner. This one has a very thick point on it. So we're going to use this to just kind of throw on a bigger wing real quick. One thing that I forgot to mention was that I dipped back into the James Charles palette to use this black shade right here. I don't have the little plastic sheet from it right now, so I don't know what shade that is, but I dipped into this black to just kind of deepen and darken and make everything a little more smoky, because the black shade in the black palette wasn't as black as I would like. But I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to throw on my lashes and my lips, and we'll come back and we'll do some final thoughts about the entire collection. And that was my 2 looks, 2 palettes. First time ever attempting to do that. But let's go ahead and talk about this collection, what I thought about the formula, all that jazz. Once again, you have the 2 palettes, and then you have the 2 highlighters. The only thing in the collection that I did not get was the liquid lipsticks and the lip glosses, because I know that I would not use them, so there was no point getting those. First, the pros. Formula-wise, I didn't really have an issue with that. The shadows are pretty smooth. You know, they blended pretty well. They were pretty creamy, the ones that I did use. Where we have the issue is the color story. This is not what I think about when I think of Sally. There are a whole lot of neutrals and browns. I mean, it's a pretty fall palette. You can use it for that. But yeah, as far as the color story and what I think of Sally and the looks that I could put together that would be inspired by Sally, this is just not what I think of. This color story is so missing the mark. And I don't understand why there's so many mattes. I mean, so little mattes and so many shimmery shades. Even some of the shadows that I thought were mattes Once I actually started blending them on my eyelids, they were not. They were actually a shimmer matte formula, but not necessarily matte, more like a satin matte formula. So I was not happy about that. With the Jack palette, this one to me missed the mark even more so than the Sally palette did. When you look at Jack on the cover here, what do you see? You see black, you see white, you see green. That's what we think of when we think of Jack. If you look inside the palette, there is no bone white shade. There should be, above all, a bone white shade. Skeleton's a bone white. There is not one in here. Very disappointing. The only shade that's in here that's even remotely close is the shade that's called Bones, which is very ironic because it's not the color Bones by any means at all. And it's a shimmery shade. I thought that it was a matte. Once I actually started putting it on my eyelids, it was not. And I ended up pulling another palette to get the white look that I wanted because this was just not it. The only green shade in here at all, other than this like deep kind of military green, is this one. As you can see, that it's not the same color as Jack. Nope, not even remotely close. Not happy about that at all. There should have been a really bright, super limey type green to match him. That was missing. Not happy about that either. And then black. The only shade that was remotely close was this one called Hinterlands, but it was more like a deep, deep, deep kind of a khaki. I don't know how to explain it. Felt like it had more green and maybe a little brown in it than it was black. I ended up having to pull another palette to kind of get that really black look on the outside that I was wanting with that too. So once again, color story, missing the mark. Disappointed by that. Now, as far as the highlighters, I absolutely loved both of these. They blended very nicely. They looked really beautiful on the skin. Collection-wise, I liked the Jack one a little bit more. This one was lighter, more icy, and I kind of felt like that was more fitting. Color story-wise for the collection itself, but formula-wise, these were both beautiful. I love the gold tone in this one. It looked really, really gorgeous on the skin. As far as something that would look good on your actual skin tone, if you're like fair to medium, this one right here, once again called Moonlight, Mischief, and Madness, this one would be like absolutely beautiful on your skin tone. If you're like medium to deeper skin tones, then the Misfit Love one right here. Once again, I hate the fact that my highlighter being broken, but I was able to kind of press everything back in there. So, you know, it wasn't that much, so it wasn't a complete and total disaster. Before we finish the video, I want to go ahead and do a quick comparison between the Love is Eternal palette, this is the one that I got from Hot Topic, and the ones that we just used from Makeup Revolution. Formula-wise, this one completely missed the mark. Powdery, chalky, you know, the shimmers were very hard pan, but color story-wise though, I feel like this one was more fitting to Jack and Sally than the ones in Makeup Revolution. The only thing missing out of this one is a really bright green shade. If you had that really bright green in here, I think overall the color story would be just right on point. Basically, if you could take the Makeup Revolution formula that was in these two palettes and put it into this one, you would have an almost perfect Jack and Sally themed palette. If you're new to my channel, I would love it if you hit subscribe and join my little family. And if you'd like to be notified of any videos that may be coming up in the future, just be sure to tap the notification bell down below. You'll be notified each and every time. Be safe, guys. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.